We didn't have a microphone set up, but if you can't, there's plenty of seats up front, so feel free to move up. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. This is our first community info session for the project that we're calling Bay and Beyond. Basically, we're here tonight to give you a bit about the project, let you know what some of our start dates, timelines are, where we're at in the process for design, introduce some of our project team. I hope everyone's had a chance to sign in at the back. There's also some QR codes there if you didn't get a chance to scan those. That'll register you for our project website. That's probably your best source of information for updates, because anything that we're going to share with the community at large will also get sent across that platform. So if you register with your email, you'll be in the know as soon as we hit publish on some of the information that we're posting for this. So with that, I'll get started. Once again, thanks for coming tonight. So I'll introduce the project team, our core project team off the hop. We've got myself, I'm Mark Misko with the District of Muskoka. I'm Director in Transportation and Engineering. With me tonight, I've got Mark Trebinski, who's our Capital Delivery Manager. He'll be a key point of contact for management of this project once the contract goes live. We've got our design consultants here from Greer Galloway, Chris and Adele. And then our Director of Water and Sewer, Mike Curry, who's responsible for all the pipes in the ground that bring all those services to your doorstep. And then hiding in the back there, we've got another team member, Andrew Stacey, who's with the town of Gravenhurst. He's a Director in Public Works. And then we've got our Commissioner and Rob Anderson, a Manager in Engineering, and our Commissioner of Public Works, James Steele. So with that, I'll get started. So we're right into there's a partnership project, so we're working with the town on this one. It's recognized the need for additional infrastructure revitalization through this area, replacement of some of those essential services that we all rely on, so storm, sewer, and the water servicing that we see. It's also an opportunity for us to redo the road network in this area. What we do a lot of times is district government and the area municipal government, the township of Gravenhurst, or the town of Gravenhurst in this case, will team up. We can get some efficiencies done with the contract approach that we're using, so we kind of collaborate across municipal levels there, and we can get a bit more bang for our buck with the contract that we're going out to the street with. So why are we doing this? I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at some of the pipes we have at the back there. There's one in particular in the middle, not the wooden one. That's a little older than what we've got, but there's one in the middle that in particular. That's about the vintage of the water main that we're dealing with here. So you can see some of the buildup inside of that of iron over the years. You'll see it here. So we've got water main on this stretch of project that's circa 1944 when it was put in. So that's before D-Day in Europe, actually, so it's a little older. And then the sewer is between 1940 and 1960. Storm sewer went in about 1960, and the roadway itself has had various treatments throughout the years. So depending on where you are on that roadway, it's a bit of a different vintage the entire time. So what we're looking to do is replace all these essential services to avoid a break-fix approach. And what happens is these things get older, they start to deteriorate. It's very similar to a car. So we're starting to see little pieces are going here and there, and we've made the call that it's time to replace the vehicle in its entirety. You can see here we've got Muskoka Springs last Christmas with a water main break. So things like that will continue to happen as these assets age. So we're looking to replace these now. And this also allows us a chance to put in some community enhancements as part of the project. So where is it? Basically, it goes all the way from Gull Lake Park over on the right-hand side to the Muskoka Wharf here. This is where we are tonight in Steamship Bay. So we've divided it. It's a 2-kilometer stretch. We're looking at basically we'll call them three sections, three major sections to this project. We've got the wharf section, which is where we are now, and that's blue and yellow here. And then we've got what I'm calling the residential section, and that's kind of when we turn south with the project in the blue and green. And then we've got more of a commercial section here, and that's the east end of the project through the downtown core east-west and out to Gull Lake Park. So our first phase is beginning in this area here. So we're going to start at the low point and work towards the high point with the infrastructure, and that lets us tie in a bit better. So we're going to be moving from west to the east throughout the project. And I'm not sure that's maybe a bit too much text, but some of the initiatives that we're looking at here outside of the core infrastructure, I'll call it replacement, so that road, water, sewer, and stormwater. We're looking to further establish an active link between Gull Lake and the wharf itself, and that could be through things like sharrows or paved shoulders and a bit more sidewalk to accommodate pedestrian traffic. We're working with CN on the eastern extremity of the project to address some safety concerns with the signals that are there. The train signal timing as well as the intersection timing don't necessarily correlate as well as they could, so we're going to be upgrading that as part of the project. There's going to be new signalized intersections going in that will be fully AODA, which is the Accessibility Act requirements. So you'll see the tactile plates, the push button signals, all that stuff will come with the new intersections. And then in addition to this, we're taking the chance to add a new pedestrian crossing, kind of not right outside the project limits, but south in the downtown core. At Sharp Street and Muskoka Road 118, so right where the Opera House is, we're going to be putting in another pedestrian crossing in that area as part of this work. Some of the town initiatives in this from Gravenhurst include sidewalk replacement where needed. So if we're doing a utility cut or something like that, we have to replace a sidewalk, obviously we're going to do that. There's a new multi-use pathway being installed in the wharf area, and what that'll be is essentially a paved pathway, and that'll help people get from point A to point B, as well as some new sidewalk on the other side of the street. And then we're also looking at extending the existing parking at the farmers market, and that'll help some of the overflow parking that we're seeing in the area. So kind of what does it look like? These are some conceptual drawings, and if you can't see them, don't worry, all this stuff is available online as well, so you can zoom in and have a closer look at these cross sections if you want. So you see we've divided again into those three sections. We've got the wharf section here. You'll see the multi-use trail there. That's that paved pathway I was talking about, as well as a sidewalk on the other side. And then we've got sharrows to delineate, kind of share the road for cyclists through that area. The center turning lane will remain through that stretch as well. And then in the residential section, it's your standard two-lane approach. We're not making the road any wider or adjusting any of the curb lines, but we're going to move the edge line in. And what that does is it kind of creates a narrower lane, which has a traffic calming effect. And then we're going to put some additional bike signage in there for cyclists in line paint on the roadway. And then the commercial section here, you're seeing sharrows once again. We looked at, can we move parking stalls? The decision was made parking is pretty tight downtown, so we don't want to eliminate any of those spots. So we're going to go with the sharrows. And then it'll just essentially be new curb-to-curb infrastructure through the downtown or the commercial portion out to Gull Lake. So our current timelines, that's probably the big question tonight, is when are we going to be doing this and how long is it going to take? So with the three major phases that we've got, right now we're in pre-qualification process with a bunch of contractors, and what that means is we basically go out to market and ask them to submit proposals for this work on their company experience, what size and type of projects are they versed in, and how well can they deliver on this project. So we ask for those. We're ranking those right now. Once that ranking is done, those contractors that have made it through that process, it's an invited bid, and then it becomes a competitively priced job. So currently, we're looking to start these works in 2024. So this, I think it's June right now is our start date, which is when half loads come off. So we'll be looking to go in this phase one section in 2024. So that's the blue and yellow that you're seeing there. So it's a phase one and phase two approach. So this will adjust, this will be a road closure through this section here, but when we leapfrog to here or move towards this section, this will be open as usual. So we're kind of staging the process through instead of having the contractor come in and say, you can start here and end here and just go gangbusters the whole way through. So we've sequenced their staging or phasing. Then into the residential section next year, 2025, the following year, so year two is going to be the blue and green sections, and there's some associated detours with those that we've got flagged on here as well. And then in 2026, we're looking at that commercial section in the wharf there, so kind of the magenta and red sections there that you're seeing. So it's a 3-year project. It's going to take a long time. It's a comprehensive project. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for it. We're going to try and accelerate it as much as possible, but right now our timeline is looking into 2026 to get this completed. So closures and detours, that's probably the next question that everyone has about when we close the road. What does that look like and how do people get around? So each phase of construction will require a full road closure to ensure both worker safety and safety for members of the public. We do look to maintain pedestrian accessibility as much as possible. If we have to replace sidewalk or something, or there's an excavation to tie in a utility service, we may have to close a small section of sidewalk and reroute pedestrians, but we do want to maintain that walking access as much as possible through the site. And then the detour routes. So I'd like to share as much as we could about the detour routes, but we're still pre-qualifying contractors, so they may be able to come up with something we haven't thought of yet that could work a bit better, and we could message that out at the time. So those detour routes that you're seeing now are kind of as proposed, and that's what we're looking at doing. If we can find a better way to route traffic around in working with the successful contractor, we'll do that. But once again, you know, the sign up for the project page. We're going to get these detours out to people in as much advance time as we can, and we'll keep updated as the project goes. So you'll see, you know, if we're switching a phase or a section, and a road that was closed is now going to be open, we'll get as much advance notice out as we can to the public. And that's the update and adapt. So we're looking at minimum 10 days in advance to let people know how to get around construction. We can leverage a lot of online tools that'll affect mapping. So when you're plug in your destination on your car, it'll automatically build the route in for you. And we use Municipal 511 for that. And then we can adjust and adapt as needed. We found a project we recently completed through the downtown core in Huntsville. We had to look at things like once we set up a detour and it's using a different intersection, the signal timing at that intersection may need to be modified because there could be a lot more people making a left-hand turn, so we can extend the left-hand turn arrow or adjust otherwise. So what's next? Over the winter, we're going to be reviewing those proposals to pre-qualify those contractors. Like I mentioned, we're looking to go to that invited bid portion as early as January. So we asked them to submit their prices at that point. They've passed the first test, and now we go to a competitive bid to get them on board. And then our anticipated construction start is late May, early June of 2024, with completion in 2026. So with that, there's an outline of some of the process that we have here. We're basically right here at that first one to get the messaging out about what we're intending to do. Do we have all the details right now, what the color and shape will look like? No, not at this point, because we're working on finalizing the design and getting a contractor on board. We wanted to bring it out to the community at this point to get some feedback from anybody that may have concerns about the project, how this affects their business. Do I have all the answers for that tonight? No, but we want to hear what those concerns are, and we can take them back and provide some answers to everybody. Once that's done, we'll pre-qualify the contractors, receive the prices. We'll go through our committee council process to award the contract if everything looks good. And then we're going to go to tender award. And at that point, we'll start to really dial in on what the schedule looks like, when the actual start date is, how long it's going to take, and exactly what the costs are associated with the project. So once again, what's the best way to stay updated on this is you can either visit our project page, which is engagemuskoka.ca/bayandbeyond. That'll give you kind of the lowdown on and some history on what the project is and what's happening. It'll also, if you choose to register for it, it'll give you the latest updates. Like I said, as soon as we get those out to the street, you'll be first to know. You'll be first on the list. And then there's a online on the web page there is a submit your questions. So you can go in, fill it out, submit your question or concern. We can address that, and that will get posted publicly. So if there's common questions, everybody can kind of see what the FAQs are for the project. And then we're just asking right now at this point, everybody kind of get aware of the project, start to connect with us, and then we can stay informed together as we work through this contract. So that's it. Very brief, quick synopsis of kind of what we're up to. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have at this point, or yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious, you touched on it at the end, but what lessons, if any, are you taking from the Digging Downtown project in Huntsville and applying to this? Because it seems like it is very similar.
So with the Digging Downtown Huntsville, it was a similar project in the extent that it was going through a very busy area in one of the towns. It was a bit different in that it was a full streetscape, so it was wall-to-wall construction, so we were going storefront to storefront. That isn't necessarily the approach on this one, so it's more of a remove and replace with some additional, a walking path and some additional sidewalk being added. What we learned from that one was to maintain a point of contact on that. That worked out successfully to host community info sessions, to be open to hearing from businesses and concerned residents in the area about what we're up to and what we're doing. We do have mechanisms in the contract, like a contractor representative that's a main point of contact during construction for businesses that have operations that they need considered. So we provide that person as your frontline person. So you're not running around trying to find someone in a hard hat because you've got concerns about how, you've got a delivery coming in Tuesday and you need access through the site. So we establish a main point of contact for that. Another lesson that we've learned, and we're kind of in the recruitment process for it, is to have more dedicated district staff on this project. So we'll be establishing main points of contact. It's Mark Trubinsky right now as project manager. We've also got some works going on in the background to get additional resources for this project, so we can have eyes, ears, boots on the ground, and be open to basically be a point of contact, and we can talk to the community that way.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
I have actually two different questions. One, when you put these contracts out, is there going to be completion penalties involved? Because I've only lived here for 10 years and I've seen stuff that moves very, very slowly. You know, equipment sits there for a long time, not a wheel being turned, and then, oh, we got to come back in the spring, you know? And you're dealing with not only the businesses, in my case, it's residential and business because I work from home. And I realize that I'm going to have to move my vehicle and park somewhere else. I don't have a problem with that. I think what you're doing is brilliant. I think, you know, the fact that you're doing this tonight is brilliant. But I just want to make sure that it's understood that when they have a timeline, that they just can't walk away from it.
Sure. So I guess I'll answer your question in two stages here. Sure. So a lot of our standard contract have something called liquidated damages, and what that is if you go past certain date, it's X dollars per day. And that's standard contract language that we put in. One of the lessons we learned in our work in other downtown cores was we need to beef that up for projects of this size and scope. So there's consideration for things like early completion bonuses.
Yeah.
If you get it done ahead of time, and you make best efforts, maybe we can get you, there's incentive to finish it early. There's also cumulative penalties for finishing late. So it's not just X dollars per day, it's X dollars for these many days, and then as soon as you get into X plus one, or sorry, that next bracket, it starts to ramp up from there. So the heat gets turned up the longer the project goes on. So. Okay,
which is great, that answers that question. My next question is, I don't see anybody here from fire. I don't see anybody here from the medical, the medical response people. I didn't hear anything about you liaisoning with them.
Right. We do. So any road closure that we have, EMS is still primary access. We want to get them in and get services that are needed for emergency response. So they're part of our working group internally at a staff level. So we'll keep them in the loop on what our operations are. They're going to know what we're doing. Probably before the public in general, to be honest, because we like to get their opinion on what we're...
But will they be able to use that section of road to get to the house that's on fire, or population in this area is not all, young families? Ambulance is very important.
Yeah,
so they're going to be able to get to each and every residence, in a timely manner.
So that'll be a requirement that they have to be able to maintain emergency services access as part of the work that they're doing. And when you see the road closed between point A and B, construction is going to progress in a linear manner. So we're putting in new water and sewer pipes, so we can only add on as we go. So you're going to see a linear progress like that. It's not necessarily going to be a giant open excavation for 800 meters with a no-go zone. So that's one of the reasons as well that we have a contractor rep available, staff available as point of contact. So if there are concerns that you're seeing, we want to be able to address those. We were able to successfully keep, in the last downtown job we did, we kept all the businesses open and accessible for customers the whole time. And I mean, if we're able to do that, EMS that's a much bigger priority. So we're and to speak to kind of the schedule, there may not be days where it looks like everybody's running around very busily. It could go in fits and spurts, and a lot of that is depending on material availability, contractor timing, that type of stuff. So that's all worked into their schedule, and we'll manage the schedule with them as the job progresses.
Okay.